everybody. Hope you're having a blessed and amazing day. My name is Amanda Cantu, and I am just now getting started on my YouTube journey. So I'm pretty excited that this is episode 1. And it's taken me a long time to get on YouTube because, I've been telling myself, you got to know how to edit, you got to know how to do thumbnails, you got to do this and that, and all the transitions. Well, that can come later, right? I can learn how to do those things, but I need to just get the content out, get the information out, get the videos out. And so that's what I'm going to do. And what I want to start with is basically letting you in on my journey of homeschooling my twins and the struggles that I've gone through in the past several years doing so. It hasn't been all perfect. I have struggled with feeling like an imposter, like a failure. And I know that there's going to be other women out there that feel the same way. So my goal is to let you know that you're not alone, that we all are going through different seasons and struggles, and that as long as you keep the end goal in mind, you're going to find a way. But not just you alone, that when you put your faith in God and His plan for your life and for your children's life, and whenever you hand the lives of your children over to God, you have to know that He's going to do what's best for y'all, right? And there's going to be seasons where things have to change. And that's okay, because our faith in God becomes stronger in those seasons. And so that is the goal of what I want to start this channel off with, is basically letting you in on this journey that I've been going through for the last 3 or 4 years of homeschooling my twins. So before I even got pregnant, I always had this desire in my heart to homeschool my kids. I always thought to myself that I would homeschool my kids, and that I wanted to spend as much time with them as possible. Like, I just knew that I wanted that for myself before I ever even got pregnant. Well, at the time when I was pregnant, I was working in a corporate job. I was working in a corporate setting. I had my bachelor's degree, just working an office desk job. And went on maternity leave, loved being around the babies. And I think it was about 9 months or so that I went back to work. And if any of you ladies, I know that some of you watching are probably know what this is like. You're like thinking of your kid. Well, I say kids because I had 2, but if you only had 1 at the time, right, you're thinking of your kid, how much you miss them, and then you're probably pumping while you're at work. Like, that's what I did anyways. I was like pumping while I was at work and calling them on FaceTime and all of the things. And even though they couldn't talk, but I missed them so much, and I just wanted to be home with them. And I kept thinking to myself, there's got to be more to life than this. There's got to be more to life than like sitting at this desk doing a job that one, I didn't actually feel was like impacting anyone. I didn't feel like I was making a difference in the world, which was something that was important to me. It always has been important to me. I have always wanted to feel like my work, the things that I do, are impactful, that are making a difference in people's lives. And so that didn't help, like that I didn't feel that way at work. And then 2, that I was missing my kids, that I wasn't able to be with them all the time. And so I really started to begin to think of ways on how I was going to be able to get back home to them. So after about 8 or 9 months of being back at work, I decided that I was going to become a mobile notary signing agent, because my mom was very successful at doing it. I was already a notary. I had been a notary since 2008, and I've grown up in the real estate industry. Like, my mom used to be a mortgage broker, real estate agent, so I knew all of that stuff. That was like my first job. And so I grew up knowing a lot of the real estate industry. And not that you necessarily have to know a lot of it to become a mobile notary signing agent, but because I had already had that background, my mom felt comfortable in allowing me to go and do a signing for her, a closing basically. So I'll go over exactly what all that is in another video, but I just wanted to say that this was something that I began to do on the side, and realized that, hey, I could possibly do this full time and be able to have flexibility and be at home with my kids, because my mom, who didn't have any small children, was so successful at it. Well, I was just so eager to get home to my kids that I didn't really fully think about how I was going to get up and go at any given time, because it's basically like being on call. And although you do get to pick and choose what you do and what you don't do, but the way that there's no actual schedule, it makes you feel like you're on call. That wasn't going to be very easy with newborn twins. Okay. But I didn't think it through. I just so badly wanted to be home with them that I was like, I'm going to do this. Right. And so I ended up putting my month's notice in to my job and let them know that I was going to begin my own business because I wanted flexibility to be with my kids. And so they were like, okay, all right, a month's notice. I figured that they would be able to find someone in that time, and they didn't. And so this was one of the biggest times. This is one of the times when I really saw God. I truly believe that this was God providing, that this was God doing a work, a miracle in my life, and that they were not able to find anyone. And so when the month came up, I said, hey guys, the month is up and there's no one to replace me. So, I was like, what do you want to do? And they said, look, you can go work from home for us for a month and we'll find someone then. I go home and I work for a month from home from them. A month comes and goes. And I think they went through 2 temps at that time and no one stuck. And so my manager at the time said, hey, look, you're basically doing a good job. You're doing everything you need to do. Just keep working. Just keep working until someone says otherwise. And I thought, great, this is great. I'll do it. Because my mobile notary signing business wasn't picking up the way that I thought that it would, not because of the industry, but because of my own flexibility and availability. And, I just felt like God was providing for me in that time when I, even though this is my transparency, when I made the decision to become that mobile notary, I didn't actually ask God first. And so even though I believe that this was God providing for me, I'm not going to recommend that you just do what you want and make the big choices without asking God first. I think this was a grace that was given to me. And I realized at the time, wow, this could have been real bad. This could have been real bad for me and my family. I didn't consult with God. I didn't pray and ask God, but yet he provided for me in a way that I could have never thought or imagined. And it's almost like he said, this time I saved your butt here. I saved you, right? I saved you, your career. I saved you financially. But next time, like you need to ask me first. Okay. And I realized that. So I was like, this could have been pretty bad. And, but he's always there for me. Okay. He's always looking out for me, even though when I make dumb mistakes, and that's, I've learned that throughout my whole life. But anyways, that's a whole nother, YouTube video. But so a month comes and goes. I'm still working there. That ends up turning into 3 years. 3 years where God blessed me and allowed me, like the only person in that company, I don't want to say the whole company, but at least in my field, in the finance department, that was working from home. I was working from home for 3 years. No one else was doing that. No one. And I was doing my job. I was not behind. I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing. And I was having the flexibility of being able to be with my babies. And so, and this was from 2017 to 2020. Okay. And in 2020, right before COVID, right, got real bad, the management changed and a new manager came in, and he said, or he decided that he wanted everyone to be in the office, which there was no one else that was not in the office, only me. And he wanted me to begin to go into the office. And I did not want to. I was like, I don't understand why I need to go in the office because I'm doing my job. Nobody even realized that I wasn't in the office. And, I'm doing everything I need to do. So why do I need to go in the office? And I guess it was a morale thing. It was like, they need to know who you are type of thing and all the things. Of course, I was not happy about it at all, especially because I was going to have to put twins in daycare, which was going to cost me about $1,500 a month. All right. So that means that it was going to cost me money to go to work. My options were, you're either going to come into the office or you're going to resign. And I negotiated, and I was able to have them increase my pay to be able to cover the $1,500 a month. And again, this, in my opinion, was a God thing. This is just God. Like, I don't know, because I'm a believer, maybe I just see that these things just don't happen, that I just don't believe in coincidences. And I don't believe that I'm a good enough person for these amazing things to be happening to me just because I'm me. No, absolutely not. I deserve the worst in the world, to be honest. Like, the choices that I have made in my life I believe that would not merit the goodness that God has given me, the grace that I have seen in my life. But again, the details of those type of situations are going to be explained in other videos, because that is the most beautiful thing I can ever talk about, is just the good things that God has done for me, and not because of who I am, but because of who He is. And so back to my story. So I go into the office. I got to put the babies in daycare, which I hated. All right. I hated the fact that they were in daycare. When I had to go back to work for those 8 to 9 months, my mom helped me with the babies. So she would watch the babies while I was at work for a time. And then my husband was working nights at the time. So my mom helped and he watched the kids while I was at work, and she also did too. So they were working together to watch them while I had to be at work. So at the time when I had to put them in daycare, I guess they were about 3 years old, 2 to 3-ish. And they went to daycare for 1 week. I went into the office for 1 week, and COVID was like big. It turned out to be big, and we got sent back home. So 1 week, and I got to go back home. My babies came home, and I still had my raise. And I was like, thank you, God. Like, I know that COVID affected so many people negatively, but I also know that COVID affected people positively. So, and that's how life is. Just things happen where some people benefit and some people don't benefit. But in this case, I did benefit in that aspect, that I did not have to go back to the office. I thought, as soon as this is over, they're going to make me go back. I really began to pray, and because at that time, every time that I would mention it to my husband, like, again, like, I want to quit my job, I really want to quit this time, he just wasn't okay with it. He didn't have peace about it. And there was a part of me that didn't either, but the desire, I think the desire to want to work for myself and be with the kids was just so much stronger than the fear. And it was kind of like I was trying to not be afraid, right? But there wasn't the peace that I should have had about it. And so it wasn't until one day when I wasn't even thinking about it, like I wasn't praying about it in the moment, I wasn't talking about it in the moment, I was literally cooking lunch for myself and for my husband and for the kids. We were home, and I was cooking lunch, and I just literally felt like, it's like an internal thing that you hear. It's not like an audible voice. You know that it's not you talking to yourself. I know that there are some of you watching this that you know exactly what I'm talking about, and some of you may not. But I heard God tell me, it's time. He said it just like that. It's time. It was I heard it. I heard it. It's so weird I cannot describe what it is, because it's not an audible hearing. It's a knowing. And even saying that sounds weird. Like, it's a knowing, but it's a knowing. Like, it is a knowing that I heard a voice, I felt a feeling, and I had an understanding of what it was. So it's a very spiritual thing inside. And it's like the Bible says that my sheep will hear my voice and they'll know who I am. Like, my sheep know me. They know my voice. And in that moment, I knew that it was God. I knew that it was God saying, it is time. And I knew what he was talking about exactly. I knew that he was telling me, now is the time. You're good. It's time. And I got confirmation that it was him because I turned around and I told my husband, who had previously not been on board with me quitting my job. I said, I just heard God say that it's time. It's time. It is time. I think it's time. And he said, okay. And I was like, okay. And he's like, okay. And so I put in my 2 weeks. This time it was a 2-week notice. I gave my 2 weeks and that was it. I began my mobile notary business. And I left my corporate job to be my own boss. In that first year of being a mobile notary signing agent, I was able to work probably 50 to 75% of the time that I was working in my corporate job, right? I was working way less than I was in my corporate job. I had all the flexibility that I wanted. And I was able to fully replace my income, like literally almost exactly to the amount of money that I was making with the raise. Okay. And so all of those things, like in those years, God just was like showing me everything that and I know that's not everything. Like, God showed me the tip of the iceberg, the very, very tip of the iceberg of what he could do. And, my faith in him just really began to become more and more solid. And I knew that his ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. Our thoughts are not his thoughts. Our ways are not his ways. And he has so much more for us than we could ever ask or imagine if we just fully rely on him, if we put all of our trust in him and acknowledge him in all of our ways. And so in my next episode, I will tell you more about the journey that I went on after leaving my corporate job and starting my own mobile notary signing agency business, and what exactly that is, how it helped me, and what happened after that.